You don't miss them exactly. You just can't stop checking your phone. Not because you expect a message. You know it's not coming. But your hand reaches for the screen anyway, like it's operating on a different set of instructions than the rest of you. That feeling, the one that keeps pulling you back to a conversation that ended without ending, isn't weakness. It's not you being too much or too attached. It's your nervous system running a very specific protocol, one it was built to run, one it cannot easily stop once it starts. There are 3 reasons being ghosted feels the way it does. 3 mechanisms your brain activates when a connection disappears without explanation. And once you understand all 3, what felt like a personal failure starts to look a lot more like biology. Most people assume ghosting hurts because they cared too much. That's not quite right. The first reason starts in the brain itself. When researchers at UCLA put people inside an fMRI scanner and had them experience social rejection, the brain region that lit up was the same one that processes physical pain, the anterior cingulate cortex, the same area that registers a burn, a broken bone, the moment you stub your toe in the dark. Not a region that is similar to it, the same one. What this means is that the phrase, "it feels like a punch in the gut," is not a metaphor. It is a reasonably accurate description of what is actually happening inside your body. Your nervous system does not have a separate filing cabinet for emotional pain and physical pain. It uses the same alarm system for both. This is why the first few days after being ghosted can feel physically awful. Fatigue, chest heaviness, disrupted sleep. Your body is not overreacting. It is responding to something it categorized correctly as a threat. The reason social pain runs through the same circuitry as physical pain is evolutionary. For most of human history, being excluded from your group was not emotionally uncomfortable. It was fatal. Isolation meant no food, no shelter, no protection. The brain learned, over thousands of years, to treat rejection with the same urgency it gave to injury. That urgency kept people alive. Your nervous system still has that software running. It has not been updated. So when someone disappears without explanation, your brain does not process it as a minor social inconvenience. It processes it as a survival signal. That's the first thing driving the way this feels. The second mechanism is what happens when your brain tries to make sense of the silence. Your brain is a prediction machine. Its primary job is not to feel emotions or generate thoughts. Its primary job is to predict what happens next. It does this constantly, automatically, below conscious awareness. When a pattern it expects is suddenly broken, and especially when it receives no information about why, it doesn't accept the gap. It tries to fill it. This is what researchers call the closure gap. The absence of an explanation is not neutral to your brain. It reads as an unsolved problem, and unsolved problems demand processing. This is why you replay the last conversation, why you look for the thing you said wrong, why you construct and reconstruct possible explanations at 2 a.m. even though none of them make you feel better. You are not doing that because you are obsessive or irrational. You are doing it because your brain is running a survival program designed to figure out what went wrong so it can prevent the threat from happening again. The problem is that with ghosting, there is no information to find. The gap cannot be filled with facts because no facts were offered. So the brain does the only thing it can do. It generates hypotheses. And in the absence of external data, most of those hypotheses turn inward. It must have been something I did, something I am. That is not a psychological conclusion. That is a computational one. A brain that cannot explain the pattern blames the only variable it has full access to, itself. If you're feeling that right now, that low-level hum of trying to figure out what it means, what you did, what you are, the 3-day reset I put together works directly with that. It's a free 3-day guided audio experience designed to help your nervous system step out of the loop rather than keep running it. I'll leave it linked below. The third reason is the one most people don't expect. Before the ghosting, there was a connection. And that connection was unpredictable in the way all new connections are. Sometimes they texted quickly, sometimes slowly, sometimes warmly, sometimes not. That variability is not a flaw in early relationships. It is the thing that makes them compelling. Your brain releases dopamine not when good things happen, but when there is a possibility that a good thing might happen. The uncertainty itself is the trigger. Neuroscientists call what happens next a reward prediction error. When your brain expects a reward, the buzz of a notification, the relief of a response, and the reward doesn't arrive, it doesn't simply return to baseline. Dopamine drops below baseline. That drop is uncomfortable. And the way the brain tries to resolve that discomfort is by increasing its focus on the source of the expected reward, which means checking again and again. This is why ghosting can feel more destabilizing than a clean breakup, even when the connection was newer or less serious. A clean breakup gives your brain a clear signal. Loop closed. Update the model, move forward. Ghosting leaves the reward loop open. Your brain keeps generating the anticipatory state, keeps scanning for the signal, keeps searching for the thing that never comes. The way out is not willpower. It is signal interruption. When you feel the pull to check, that specific restless pull that doesn't feel like a choice, 60 seconds of slow diaphragmatic breathing lowers cortisol measurably and briefly interrupts the dopamine anticipation cycle. Not permanently, just long enough for the prefrontal cortex to come back online. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, exhale for 6, do it twice. That is not a wellness suggestion. That is a neurological intervention for a neurological loop. And when you're ready to create some closure for yourself, not because they gave it to you, but because you stopped waiting for them to, expressive writing helps. Not journaling in the general sense. Writing specifically about what the connection meant, what you hoped for, and what you are now ready to release. Research on expressive writing consistently shows it reduces intrusive thoughts and lowers the physiological stress markers that keep the loop running. You are not writing to understand them. You are writing to give your brain the ending it has been trying to construct. All 3 of these mechanisms are running at once when you're on the other side of a ghosting. Your body is processing it as physical pain. Your brain is working to fill an unsolvable closure gap. And your dopamine system is caught in a loop that the absence of information keeps feeding. That is not one problem. It is 3, running simultaneously. Of course, it feels the way it does. The thing that changes when you understand this is the narrative you build around it. You are not someone who fell apart over someone who wasn't worth it. You are someone whose nervous system responded accurately and completely to a real rupture. The mechanisms were working exactly as they were designed to. That is not a verdict on your worth. That is a description of your wiring. The 3-day reset is linked below if you want to feel that shift rather than just understand it. And the next one, if you've ever known exactly what you should do and still couldn't do it, is right there.